This is Worcester, Massachusetts. A New England city that actually offers a semi-decent amount of beautiful classical buildings, but these are spread out quite infrequently across its fairly empty and small urban core, with over a third of its land dedicated to surface parking, according to parking reform. But when taking into account areas just outside of the given boundaries on the site, the reality is even bleaker than that. There is a bunch of undeveloped plots, poor land use, and heaps of horrendously ugly buildings and streets. Despite some of its incredible foundations and moments of elegance and grandiose, Worcester falls flat when it comes to having a cohesive urban core fit for a city with nearly 500,000 people. And outside of the downtown, Worcester is certainly not shy about its car-centric suburban sprawl development. And as it shows through its prominent highlights, Worcester is one of the most historic cities in America, and it once was really quite an incredible city. This was Worcester, Massachusetts. Really quick, I need to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Aura. Like all of you, I'm sure, I am absolutely flooded with spam calls and texts. It's just non-stop. And with my career now exclusively online, it's really scary to know that one of these days I can get hacked and lose everything. That's where Aura really comes in clutch. Aura works as an antivirus, password manager, and protects your identity from data brokers. It protects you from financial fraud, sending you alerts within minutes if someone tries to steal your credit card. They also offer a great VPN service and 24/7 US-based support. I've been using Aura for a few months now, and I've never felt more secure using the internet, enabling me to make content like the video you're watching right now with no stress that my information will be stolen. You guys deserve that peace of mind as well. Get all of these features for one affordable price. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches and brokers. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/AlexanderRobbins to try 2 weeks for free. That will be enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data has been exposed. Now back to the video. Worcester was established as a city even before the creation of the United States, with founding father John Adams having lived here in his youth as a school teacher and is where he studied law. The Worcester Revolt of 1774 took place here, one of the most important events leading into the Revolutionary War, where for the first time American patriots had overthrown British rule. Worcester as a result should represent that American fighting spirit, but also its innovative and entrepreneurial character. Into the 19th and early 20th centuries, Worcester was a northeastern manufacturing hub, with Valentine's Day cards and the monkey wrench invented here during this time. And even architecturally, Worcester played a pivotal role, with 3-decker homes also being invented here, which made for some great urbanism in multiple neighborhoods across the country in the early 20th century, particularly in northeastern cities. However, when you go to Worcester today, you may be surprised to see not very many of these structures, even though many were constructed. As you probably guessed, this is because of our old pal, urban renewal. Like so many other manufacturing cities, Worcester went through an extensive and brutal urban renewal program that had so much of the city razed. I-290 slashed right through the heart of the city, ripping up beautiful neighborhoods and streets vital to the city's previously walkable urban fabric. Entire blocks of beautiful, classical buildings were wiped to make way for surface parking or ugly and forgettable modernist projects, including the Worcester Center Galleria, replacing the organic, historic backbone of the city with a standard shopping mall, which wound up failing when residents realized they could get the same experience just going to their own local suburban mall. This shows that architecture brings genuine character to a city, and Worcester abandoning theirs had people then abandon the city. Worcester's population declined for decades following its destruction. In recent decades, the city has gone through a second transformation, switching from a manufacturing-based economy to a more academic one, with healthcare and technology the new heartbeat of the city. This has brought a lot of residential demand to the city, with Worcester becoming an immigrant hub in the 21st century. This has seen some revitalization projects, specifically in the Rays downtown. Unfortunately, this has taken the shape of ugly, uninspired, and forgettable modern buildings. It's a shame to see Worcester's rich history be completely disregarded. Given Worcester's significance in the American Revolution, you would have hoped that more care would have been put into these new projects to reflect American and New England identity, but instead, we have soullessness. This is what the city has lost, and what currently stands. While on this series, I've talked about cities such as Gary and Kansas City that have essentially boom and bust stories when it comes to their architecture and urbanism, and those are bad enough. What makes Worcester's downfall from beauty ever the more frustrating was that it had been a long, established city with centuries worth of development and refinement right up until the point where all of that vanished in the 50s and 60s. We were so quick to destroy the buildings, separate the neighborhoods, and reconfigure the streets of one of our oldest cities and one that had a pivotal role in the foundation of this country. And out of that, did we get an improved, glamorous, beautiful city that pushed the residents of the city forward and improved their quality of life? Of course not. And the idea of an urban renewal would ever do that with surface lots and concrete towers is so ridiculous that it says a lot about the people who did it. We can't say for certain that these people had outright nefarious intentions, but we can at least say these people simply had no respect for American history and identity. If this hadn't happened, Worcester would have been a unique city with a non-grid layout, hyper-narrow roads, and small blocks with thin buildings, similar to nearby Hartford. Wonder whatever happened to that city. Worcester would have reflected our descendancy from the British in a way that only a few brief places in the country could, while also reflecting American optimism and transcendence through the sheer elegance, beauty, and distinct New England charm that had been achieved in the city that had never been the biggest or the richest. While this city is growing, infill development is happening, and streets are being reconfigured to more closely match their historic layouts, these projects are a shell of what had been there previously, and I hope that if any developer in Worcester or a developer considering building in Worcester is watching, that you realize that there were so many beautiful buildings and places lost that ought to either be brought back to their former glory or at the very least serve as a direct inspiration for any future projects. Because that is what Worcester and its residents deserve, and it's the only way to respect and honor the city's contribution to this country. Worcester may have been bulldozed into irrelevance amongst the general American populace, but it can easily be reestablished as one of America's most beloved and cherished places simply by turning the page back in the history books and rebuilding these timeless works of art. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. And now a shout out to my incredible supporters on Patreon. Sven Weisbrod, Guy Courtois, Jean Baptista, Ruben Hansen, James Whale, Michael Goldman, Ulysses Arnold, Ehsan Mirza, Joseph, Roach, Eric Martz, Simon Kendrick, Fortunate Calf, VJ Mari, and my dad.